We've been talking about some pretty dour news lately, but for the first time in a while, we got some pretty good news to talk about. Hey everyone, my name's Christian Verstappen, and I have a lot to say about many things. I want to talk about Ohio voting yes on issue 1 and what that actually means, the abortion issue. Basically, we're going to go through some of these videos here, some reactions to it. It's going to be really good. But essentially, there was a vote that was had to decide whether or not abortion should be enshrined in the state constitution. For those that don't know, especially non-American viewers, each state, not only does the United States of America have a constitution, but each country has a constitution as well. So the idea was, are we gonna, have it be enshrined where the state can't say and do like they're doing here in Florida, for example, where they just say, keep putting more and more term limits on things, or like what's going to happen. So, anyway, let's get into this.
Abortion, issue 1, which places reproductive rights into the Ohio Constitution, and it passed handily.
This is an issue, of course, where millions of dollars were poured in to support and defeat it, and that got the attention of the nation as well. WCPO 9 News reporter Anna Azelian is covering our top story tonight for the local Planned Parenthood watch party. Anna?
Craig, Tanya, just about everybody has gone home at this point, but the watch party here at Esoteric Brewing was definitely a celebration. Now, the reaction we're hearing on the other side is, of course, disappointment, but issue 1, many would say, was the most polarizing issue of this election. But Ohioans have made their voices heard now, and an amendment will be added to the Constitution. It guarantees Ohioans the right to make their own decisions on abortion and other reproductive care like contraception. Now, locally, Planned Parenthood and the Archdiocese of Cincinnati have both been vocal on opposite sides of this issue. Here's how they're reacting to the results tonight.
I love the bands off our bodies thing, and also there's some very important things to understand with that too. This is ultimately about Planned Parenthood. This is about or parental planning in general. This is not just about specifically, like the medical procedure of abortion or anything like that. It also protects things like the right to contraception and things of that nature. This is a big win overall. This is a very, very good thing. And I mean, I can't help but here, check this out.
We were told that this decision would go back to the states, and that's exactly what we did today. And Ohioans showed up, Ohioans spoke up, and they voted for abortion rights, for reproductive freedom, for miscarriage, IVF, abortion care.
The passage of issue 1.
This makes me, not this guy, this makes me so happy because I want to go, like, even that woman on the left there, really both of them, but like, look at their faces. Like, they are very... They're very like, sure and determined and stuff like that, which is great. But they're also like, they're happy. I mean, that party we saw a couple seconds ago, all of this, these people are happy because they've enshrined the freedom to something that really shouldn't even be a debate in the first place. We're going to get a little bit into how the other side reacted to this, of course. But I mean, this is 100%. This is a huge, huge win. For progressivism, if you will.
And they voted for abortion rights, for reproductive freedom, for miscarriage, IVF, abortion care.
The passage.
She even said right there. Here, let's go through those. Right.
Ohioans spoke up, and they voted for abortion rights, for reproductive freedom, for
abortion rights, reproductive freedom,
abortion care.
The passage.
Miscarriage. I hate how these subtitles are not like in line apparently with what I'm watching, but whatever. Yeah, so it isn't just about abortion specifically. It is essentially saying that the state cannot tell you you have to be pregnant against your will. That's essentially what it's doing. Now, we've talked about this before. My views on abortion are a little bit, more extreme. I think that if you want to call it paper abortion, whatever you want to call it, I think that people who do the impregnating should have the ability to leave and terminate their responsibility to a pregnancy as well. But that's a whole other issue. Even if someone asked me before about my advocacy for this, they were like, well, if you had to choose between one or the other, which would you choose? Obviously, I would choose for only one to have that right, as it were, right? As opposed to nobody. Again, I would prefer if everybody did. However, that does not take away from the fact that this is a major win. This is something I'm extremely supportive of and very happy to see, and extremely important.
Passage of issue 1 shows that there remains a desperate need for conversion of minds and hearts to a culture of life in our country, one that respects the inherent dignity and sacredness of every human being from conception to natural death.
I love how we literally have like just the most generic, like he's out of a fucking cartoon or something, priest guy, being right here, being like, oh yeah, this is a moral issue, this is blah blah, this is all these different things, like absolutely insane, despicable.
In our country, one that respects the inherent dignity and sacredness of every human being from conception to natural death.
So, okay, there are a lot of things that I could go into and discuss on the concept of abortion in general. It was actually learning about how it actually works, and the fact that there are actually passages in the Bible, of all things, that describe how to perform an abortion that were some of the catalysts, the early things that made me start questioning my religious beliefs and things of that nature. So, take that as you will. That's something I could definitely, get into more specifically in the future at some point. But yeah, the people that are anti-abortion are, which, just to be clear, they are not pro-life. They are anti-abortion. They are anti-choice. They truly believe that this clump of cells that could turn into a human, yes, if given enough time, will, like, inherently has value. But the reality is, life only has the value that those who are already alive and conscious and able to make decisions for it as we see fit. The value of a fetus only has the value that the parent or parents assign it. For example, somebody who unintentionally gets pregnant and has a miscarriage, yeah, that's a traumatic experience. I'm not trying to downplay that, but they might be very relieved that they now don't have that. I know, and here's the thing too about the whole abortion thing, and I have family that have done this. I know people personally in my life that have done this, where they have drank the developing fetus to death, because if they cannot legally have access to abortion, people are going to find other ways to get around this. Because if people don't want to be pregnant, they are not going to carry through a pregnancy, which makes perfect sense. There are many people, especially in the pro-life, community and all that, and people that have that pro-life mentality, that very much believe things like sex should have consequences, and that, like, our duty as human beings is to reproduce. And here's the thing, right? If you want to have children, if you want to have like 12 kids and counting, or whatever that fucking show is, more power to you. As long as you can provide them a healthy life and all this stuff, that's great. But nobody on the progressive side, if you will, is trying to take away your right to have as many children as you want. We just don't want you to inflict your desire for children, and for to make everybody have children. There are people, again, I know people personally who have children and should not have had children. I am quite literally the product of a parent who had children and should not have had children. It's like, it's a complicated issue as far as that goes, but it's very much an issue that the person who's carrying the child and the person who impregnated them, it is their decision to figure this out. It is not and it's a tough decision. Don't get me wrong. It is a tough decision. I'm not trying to downplay that. But it is a decision that needs to be made at the individualistic and or the couple level, not at the level of the state or the federal government or anything like that. And for anybody that wants to go and say, oh, well, this is enforcing your beliefs, your values on all of us. No, it is making it so that people can live based on their values and the way they want to live, because they are not hurting other people. And I know, again, back to the whole thing about, oh, well, abortion is murder, that mentality, right? Again, with the whole, a fetus only has the value that the parent or parents assign it. A couple that is trying really, really hard to have children and struggling and finally gets pregnant, to them, that is a miracle. That's a blessing. But another couple who has been told that they could never get pregnant and think they have nothing to worry about. An accident happens and suddenly they are pregnant and they didn't want to be. That is a curse because it's all about perspective. Your reality, the way that you view the world, I mean, it's all about perspective in the first place. And the whole point of this stuff and the advocacy of pro-choice and all of that and the mentality, the everything of pro-choice is to make it so people have that choice. You can have as many children as you want. No one is going to stop you. No one is going to say, oh, you can't have children. Nothing like that. The point is, you are not forcing parenthood on people who do not want to be parents. That is why this is so extremely important. And that is also why, as we're going to get into later here, Republicans really shot themselves in the foot by actually attacking Roe v. Wade as they did.
Now, as results were coming in tonight, the yes vote was leading really from the start with those absentee ballots that get counted first. That lead did shrink a bit as more results came in, but it was still big enough for the race to be called right around 9 p.m. And some folks here at the Planned Parenthood Watch Party told me they were surprised by how early the race was called, but we did see this with some other races called around the same time, around 9 p.m. tonight in Walnut Hills and Azalea.
Yeah. Now, look at the comments, you're going to see a lot of hate. State after state, blue or red, this issue loses. Do you imagine the GOP MAGA fascists will leave women URI alone now? Taking guesses. Vote them out in 24. Yes. Yes, this is also why it is so important. This is what happens when people see a state try it and force a 10-year-old rape victim to carry that pregnancy. Decency, compassion, and common sense tell us all that the state has no place in eliminating choice. Okay, this is really good. This is actually really good because when I originally saw this, I just saw the video, and the comments were very, very like, oh, so you're celebrating the ability to murder children. Like, no, you fucking idiot, you short-sighted moron. That is not what this is about. Okay. Ohio Republican here. My family and I are not pro-abortion, but we voted yes on issue 1. Why? Simple. Dave Yost's stupid comments about a 10-year-old rape victim. La Rosa's special election, and I'm not sure about these issues. I'm pretty sure if it's the situation I know about with that, because I don't remember if it was Ohio, but there was a girl who was very young, and yeah, they were told it was ridiculous, right? Because they were literally told like, okay, we don't think you're old enough to make the decision to have an abortion for this pregnancy that you didn't want to happen, and this one that was even forced against you. However, we do think you're responsible enough to be a parent. What the fuck kind of mentality is that? Like that, it's insane. It's insane. And the thing is, when the GOP went after Roe v. Wade and they took it down specifically, they put abortion on the ballot, and they put people, of course, a ton of women and people with uteruses and the ability to become pregnant in general. They put them against them, and they put people like myself and many others who just support the concept of being pro-choice and maybe don't want children themselves or want to at least have control over that happening and understand that this affects men too, because the whole thing is like being pro-choice is not a women issue, it is a human issue. It is a this affects everybody issue. I will die on those kind of hills. Here is now full-term or less babies. Here is how full-term or less babies are killed according to a study from University. Oh, by the way, you'll hear people and you'll hear people say about these like horror stories where they're like, oh yeah, they have to break apart the baby piece by piece. And there was this story, and I listened to it. I thought it was how all abortions went. It was this doctor that described going in where they had to like scrape around the. No, sorry, they didn't scrape around the uterus. They had to use like some kind of pliers and actually like break off like the arms and legs and all that of the developing baby at this point. But the huge difference is that was an extremely late term abortion, which was being done for the sake of her life. Because something that people don't understand about these kind of things as well is that abortions are also very important in the case of like, say you have a couple where they want a child. They have the child, they're so ready, and then the baby dies in the womb. And they don't know that for a while. Or something happens where the baby can become septic. What I don't remember the specifics on this, but what will happen, what a baby can do, what a fetus can do, a developing baby, it can be at a point where it is no longer viable, but it is still consuming and now dispelling nutrients. To put it really crass and graphic, because this is effectively what happens, it's shitting in its mother's womb. And that can make the mother extremely sick and obviously kill her. But there are cases, we're going to get to this in a minute, part of issue 1 here was to make it so that even in cases extreme like that, no dice. The issue goes so much further than just the stereotype of people who weren't careful and like, oh, well, you should have known the consequences. Like, which is such a callous, ridiculous way of looking at the situation. But of course, it is how many people do view the situation. Okay, so abortion is performed after 20 weeks gestation when not done by induction of labor, which I haven't read this comment, by the way, which leads to fetal death due to prematurely, what? Oh, due to prematurity, my apologies, okay. Are most commonly performed by dilation and evacuation D&E procedures. These particularly gruesome surgical techniques involve crushing, dismemberment, and removal of fetal blood. Okay, so this is, in some cases, okay, not pulled out a lot. Okay. Yes. What's your point? Okay. Yes, that's correct. That's the horror story that I was talking about. Since it passed handedly, maybe it wasn't as controversial as some people tried to make it. So there's truth, there's merit to that, because the reality is the right has been pushing this idea for a long time. There's even an organization, the Moral Majority, where basically they try to say that, oh yeah, conservatives are actually the majority. Conservatives, like what we want, like this is the majority. This is not the majority. They are not the majority. The majority are not leftists, I would say, although that is becoming more popular, especially with how bad the economy is and everything. But that's a whole other discussion. Liberals. Liberals are the majority. And I imagine probably always will be, for better or for worse. Most people do believe and respect things like people's right to like be who they want as long as they aren't hurting others, and understand that for one, you have to, the people that were saying yes to issue 1 are people who are, let's talk about the people, so obviously people who can become pregnant, but even not just them, they were fathers of daughters who they want to be able to have the decision should they be in this situation. They were people who already had a child and know that they don't want another child with their wife, and them and their wife are on that same page. And they know that should the situation occur, they don't want to be forced to do something they don't want to do. And there are many other examples of this. This affects everybody. It was a very dark day when Roe v. Wade got overturned. We have not won yet. What I would like to see, obviously, is for this to be enshrined in the national constitution. I would like to see a full legal. Like, the state can't say anything about abortion or parental control, or say parental control, paternal control, parental planning. Sorry, I'm getting my words mixed up. All of these different things, because people that are free, that are able to make the decisions for their life that they want to, are going to be, those are the people you want to, you don't want people who don't want children to have children. That's one of the most easy, like, simplest ways to put it. You want people who want to have children to have children. But if someone doesn't want children, why would you force that on them? Like, why? It doesn't make any sense. I'm not sure what the purpose of this person's comment was, but yeah, those horror stories, like I was talking about, are not likely. Curious as to what this is about. Oh, I want. There you go. Okay. So what is the takeaway with all this? Ultimately, I'd say it's that showing up to vote does matter. And when we band together, when we come together, we can really make positive changes. Of course, again, we don't have this fully across the country, but we can. If they want to make it a state's issue, we can go state by state. That's what we have to do. But for the right, when they made this such an issue, they're going after so many things right now that the worst thing they did for their own, like, campaign is actually overturn Roe v. Wade, because people now living in a post Roe v. Wade world, or country at least, and world, people see what it does. People see how it affects others. And people also see how it really is a nonpartisan issue at the end of the day. Because most people know somebody who can, I would say everybody knows someone who either can become pregnant or they themselves can become pregnant. Most people are either somebody who can become pregnant or is likely to get somebody else pregnant. And if they don't want those things to occur, either for the time being or at all, they rightfully feel that they shouldn't have to. Now, this isn't even getting into how historically abortion has been such a common thing, to the point that Thomas Jefferson even included it in a handbook that was meant to be for the common people. It's not even talking about how I alluded to earlier, that the Bible gives instructions on how to perform an abortion. It's not discussing any of that stuff. The GOP made this a big issue back in, I want to say, the 70s, and they have been going after it ever since. They have made this a big issue decades ago, and for decades they have been attacking this. Honestly, they should have never actually done it, because what they could have done was always say, it's like how the DNC has the rotating villain, the Democratic Party, we have the rotating villain. They could have had the same thing with Roe v. Wade. Oh, we can't do it. We really want to, but we can't do it. I've heard the analogy before. They're like the dog that finally caught up to the car. Yeah. They finally got what they wanted, what they were gunning for so long, and now it backfired majorly on them. This is good. This is good news. And of course, it does not mean that, this one win for one state does not mean that everything's fixed. It does not mean that you don't need to vote in 2024 or any other, elections for your state or anything like that. It doesn't mean anything like that. What it means is we have a win. We should celebrate it. We should be happy for Ohioans. Look to the future and the positivity that can occur for each state, even one like mine here in Florida. And remain optimistic, but also realistic about the challenges we have ahead of us, but also the ability to overcome those challenges. Take the W. We got one. We won. We won a very important battle here. This is very good news. If any of you are in Ohio, congratulations. I'm very happy for you. Anyone else? Let's just celebrate Ohio. And look at them as a great example of what any of us could be in these types of situations. As always, these are my thoughts. Let me know what yours are in the comments down below. Follow me on social media for more. Subscribe and ring the bell to stay up to date. Leave a like if you like, and if not, I hope you find something to do like. Later, guys. Peace and love.